Hello, today is the birthday of Roger McGough, born in 1937. He wrote a number of poems. They often enjoyed by younger people because of their simplicity, but there's a profundity in them too. And I came across one recently that I thought I might share with you. It's quite short. Every day I think about dying, about disease, starvation, violence, terrorism, war, the end of the world. It helps keep my mind off things. Not the last line that I think any of us would have expected. And certainly at the moment, with everything that's going on in the Middle East, there is a sense in which it is constantly in our minds, the terrorism and the violence, the suffering, the hunger, the ways in which many have been bereaved and injured. It's really something which somehow it gets inside us. We want to know what's happening in the news. We long for some good news to come out of that situation. And yet at the same time, if you're anything like me, there are times when you just can't cope with it anymore, and we turn the news off because it becomes just too unbearable. And certainly it is part of our human situation now, particularly in our generation, when there is such easy and immediate links across the globe, so that we know what's going on almost anywhere else that we choose to find out about, and certainly about anywhere in the news. That there is an automatic human response to other people's suffering and to pain, and we do think about it quite rightly a lot. So the last line of Roger McGough's poem, it helps keep my mind off things, doesn't seem to be quite what we expect. But if what he means by that is that it keeps our minds off thinking about ourselves, then there can be good in that. If our thinking about ourselves is self-centered and selfish, or perhaps obsessively thinking and worrying about some particular issue. But if it means that it stops us looking at our own lives and examining our own situation, our own responses, our own behaviour, then I think that's not a good thing. And I think perhaps we need to do that as well as bearing in mind the needs and suffering, tragedies that are elsewhere in the world. There is the old thing about the fact that when you in a plane, if there's an incident, you have to put your own air supply on before you help other people put theirs on, because you can't do anything for other people if you yourself are incapacitated. I think this is partly true, that our response to the suffering of the world and the needs of others must be partly in ourselves. And it is important that we also look at our own lives, that we don't allow ourselves to be so totally absorbed in what's going on everywhere else, that we don't look at our own anger, our own frustration, our own aggression, those things in our lives which are not peaceful, which are not harmonious. They may play out in our relationships with other people. They may just be feelings going on inside us. But there is a sense in which peace begins inside each one of us. And we can play our part in creating a more peaceful world, even in a world so overshadowed by what's going on at the moment at the Middle East. We can play our part to creating a more peaceful world by looking at our own lives and making sure that we are living out peaceful, loving lives, devoid of as much anger and aggression as possible, because Just as charity begins at home, so I think so does peace. And our contribution to a better world, a more peaceful world, starts by looking at ourselves and making sure that we are living harmonious and loving lives.